Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasati Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So on Tuesday we celebrated the Snan Yatra, the birthday of Lord Jagannath.
星期二的时候，我们庆祝了 Snan Yatra， 也就是主加格纳特的生日。
And with the bathing of Lord Jagannath, then we were no longer able to have darshan of Lord Jagannath.
在为主加格纳特沐浴之后，我们不能够再得到主加格纳特的 darshan 了。
Lord Jagannath is taking rest for 2 weeks.
主加格纳特会休息2周。
We could say he's in quarantine, right?
我们可以说他现在也是隔离了。
During this time, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would leave Jagannath Puri and he'd go to Alanath and stay there.
在这段时间之内，主差坦的马哈பிர布会离开加格纳特普瑞，他去阿拉拉纳，并且住在那里。
Alanath is about 30 kilometers away from Jagannath Puri. 30.
阿拉拉纳离加格纳特普瑞有30公里远。
And there's a deity there. The deity is actually Lord Vishnu, 4-armed form, Lord Vishnu.
在那个地方有一尊神像，是主 Vishnu 的神像，是4臂的 Vishnu 的样子。
But it is worshipped with Krishna mantras.
但是崇拜的时候用的是 Krishna mantra。
So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go there and he would stay there for 2 weeks every day, go and see Alana, and he would experience ecstasy.
主宰他的马哈帕布住在那儿的时候，他每一天都会去darshan Alalana， 然后呢，他每一天都会感受到狂喜。
You can see some of the stones on the floor of the temple there, they melted due to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
你们可以看到，由于Chaitanya Mahaprabhu的缘故，当地这个庙宇地上的石板都融化了。
So it's a special place, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also opened a temple just nearby.
因此，这是一个非常特殊的地方。Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur 在附近还开设了一座庙宇。
So although we're not able to go into the Alana temple, we are allowed entry into the Gaudiya Math temple.
尽管我们不能够进入阿拉拉那的庙宇，但是我们可以进入到附近的高迪亚玛特的庙。
So then, yesterday we celebrated the appearance day of great personality Vakrishvara Pandit.
昨天我们庆祝了一位伟大的人物 Vakrishvara Pandit 的显现日。
Vakrishvara Pandit was involved in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was known to be a very great dancer in kirtan.
Vakrishvara Pandit 他是主Chaitanya Mahaprabhu逍遥时光之中一位伟大的人物，而且呢，他就是因为在 kirtan 之中跳舞而出名。
He could dance for 72 hours without stop.
他可以不停地连续跳舞72个小时。
So he was there in Jagannath Puri, and he would take part in the chariot festival with Lord Jagannath every year, along with Lord Chaitanya.
在加格纳普瑞的时候，他就会跟主Chaitanya一起去参与弹车节。
Lord Chaitanya would organize the kirtan parties.
主Chaitanya去组织 kirtan 的队伍。
The different villages, people would come from different villages, they would each have their own kirtan parties.
来自于不同村庄的人们，他们都可以组建自己的 kirtan 的队伍。
And Vakrishvara Pandit, he would dance in one of the kirtan parties.
Vakrishvara Pandit 便会在其中一支 kirtan 的队伍之中跳舞。
There was also a pastime with Devananda Pandit, because Devananda Pandit had offended Srivas Pandit.
还有一个关于 Devananda Pandit 的逍遥时光。Devananda Pandit 冒犯了 Srivas Pandit。
Srivas Pandit came to Devananda Pandit's ashram to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Srivas Pandit 来到 Devananda Pandit 的 ashram 来聆听 Srimad Bhagavatam。
But when he was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he experienced an awakening of ecstasy in his body.
当他聆听 Srimad Bhagavatam 的时候 Srivas Pandit 感觉到自己的身上出现了欢喜的征兆。
And the students of Devananda Pandit considered that he was disturbing them.
而 Devananda Pandit 的学生们认为 Srivas Pandit 是在干扰大家。
So they dragged him out and they wouldn't let him hear the Srimad Bhagavatam.
于是大家把他拖了出去，不允许他聆听 Srimad Bhagavatam。
And Devananda Pandit didn't do anything to correct them.
而 Devananda Pandit 没有做任何的事情来纠正他们。
So this was an offense on the part of Devananda Pandit.
所以从 Devananda Pandit 这个角度来讲，他做了一个冒犯。
And Lord Chaitanya refused to teach him Srimad Bhagavatam.
于是主Chaitanya便拒绝教授他 Srimad Bhagavatam。
He said, "You're an offender to pure devotees.
他说你是对纯粹奉献者的一个冒犯者。
I'm not going to give any mercy to you."
我不会给你任何的仁慈。
But then later on, Vakrishvara Pandit was dancing, and he was doing kirtan and dancing, and many people were gathering around to watch him.
但后来Vakrishvara Pandit 他在做 kirtan 在跳舞，有很多的人聚集在一起来看他。
So Devananda Pandit came there, and he would keep the people back from Vakrishvara Pandit. He wouldn't let the people disturb Vakrishvara Pandit.
后来 Devananda Pandit 来了，他就保持人群的秩序，让人群往后退，不让他们去干扰 Vakrishvara Pandit。
So Lord Chaitanya appreciated that Devananda Pandit was serving Vakrishvara Pandit.
于是主Chaitanya十分欣赏 Devananda Pandit 服务了 Vakrishvara Pandit。
So you serve a devotee, by serving the devotee, it opens the doors to liberation.
所以要服务奉献者，因为通过服务奉献者，我们便可以打开解脱的大门。
So Lord Chaitanya, when he saw that Devananda Pandit was doing this, then he told Devananda Pandit, he said, now you go to Srivas Pandit and beg forgiveness for your offense.
当主宰贪念看到 Devananda Pandit 做这样的事情的时候，他就告诉 Devananda Pandit， 现在你去找 Srivas Pandit， 你去请求他原谅你所做的冒犯。
And so Devananda Pandit went to Srivas Pandit and fell at his feet and begged forgiveness.
于是 Devananda Pandit 去找 Srivas Pandit， 跌拜在他的足下，请求他的原谅。
And then he came back to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught him Srimad Bhagavatam.
然后他回来到了主宰贪念 Mahaprabhu 的身边，主宰贪念 Mahaprabhu 教授了他 Srimad Bhagavatam。
And Lord Chaitanya told him that you should never think that you've understood Srimad Bhagavatam.
主宰贪念告诉他，你永远不应该认为自己明白了 Srimad Bhagavatam。
So there's a place over in Navadvip there where it said you can get forgiven for offenses.
在 Navadvip 有一个地方，在那儿你可以得到从所有冒犯之中的原谅。
There's a Gaudiya Math temple there, and that place is known as the place where Devananda Pandit got forgiven for his offenses.
那个地方有一个高地玛塔的庙宇，那就是据说 Devananda Pandit 被从自己的冒犯之中解脱出来的地方。
So every year when we go on parikram, we go past that place, and we also beg forgiveness for our offenses.
每一年我们做 parikram 的时候都会经过这个地方，而且我们也会祈求能够我们从自己的冒犯之中得到原谅。
So yesterday was also the appearance day of His Divine Grace Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj.
昨天还是圣恩 Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj 的显现日。
So Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj appeared in New York City.
去了 Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj 显现在纽约市。
He took his birth there, but he actually joined the Krishna consciousness movement in San Francisco.
他是在那里出生，但是他加入 Krishna 知觉运动的地点是旧金山。
He'd seen the devotees in New York, but he did not get involved with the devotees.
他在纽约看到了奉献者，但是他并没有跟奉献者们有所交往。
He said at that time he used to play the flute.
他说，其实，在那个时候，他常常吹笛子。
And he used to play the flute and put a hat out and collect donations.
而且，当他吹笛子的时候，会把一顶帽子放在面前，收集一些捐款。
But he said whenever the devotees were there, he couldn't collect any money.
然后他说，每当有奉献者在的时候，他就没有办法收到任何的钱。
The devotees used to collect all the money.
因为只有奉献者，他们能够收到捐款。
And so later on, he moved to San Francisco. He was living in San Francisco, and it was there he decided to get involved in Krishna consciousness.
之后，他去了旧金山，他住在旧金山，就是在那个地方，他决定要跟 Krishna 知觉有关系。
He joined along with his friend. At that time, he had a friend who also became a devotee, and his friend later on became known as Vishnu Swami.
他跟他的朋友一起加入的。 然后他的朋友之后呢，是因为他当时跟他的朋友住在一起，之后他的朋友以 Vishnu Swami 而闻名。
So the two of them became devotees in San Francisco, and they helped a lot to develop the preaching there in San Francisco. They were very innovative, and they had a lot of good ideas.
他们两个人在旧金山加入了 Krishna 知觉，然后就在旧金山去发展 Krishna 知觉。他们有非常新颖的办法。
Vishnu Swami was very musical. He used to play in a group. He used to be a musician, and so he could sing very nicely. He could play harmonium very nicely, and he would lead kirtan for hours.
Vishnu Swami 他以前是一个音乐家，所以他会演奏乐器，他可以唱歌唱得特别好，而且可以弹哈莫尼琴弹得特别好，能够好几个钟头的去唱歌。
People would go out on Harinam Sankirtan with him, and they would never get tired. They would always be chanting and dancing. They would be in ecstasy.
大家一起跟他出去做 Harinam Sankirtan， 从来都不会觉得累，因为他可以带着大家一起又唱又跳，在圣名之中感觉到狂喜。
So in the beginning of our movement, this is like 1967, 66, 67, 68. Prabhupada did not have any real plan about how to raise funds for the society.
当时是我们运动的早期，1966年、1967年或者是1968年，施罗帕帕德还没有一些具体的计划去想怎么才能够为我们的这个协会收集资金。
So he suggested devotees could get jobs and they could work in a job because that's what people in New York were doing.
然后施罗帕帕就建议奉献者们可以去找工作，因为纽约的奉献者们就是这样做的。
But they ended up getting jobs in a cigarette factory. And when Prabhupada heard they're working in a cigarette factory, he said, no, you cannot do that.
后来大家找的工作都是在一个制香烟的工厂里，然后当时的爸爸听到大家全都去了烟厂工作，他就说不应该在那个地方工作。
Sometimes we see devotees to get these kind of jobs, selling meat and selling non-vegetarian foodstuffs. It's not really good for devotees to work like that.
有时候我们看到奉献者们就会从事这样的工作，他们去卖肉，然后去处理一些非素食的食品。奉献者们做这样的工作不是非常好的一件事情。
And the devotees, of course, they didn't like working in these factories either.
而且当然了，奉献者们也不喜欢在这样的工厂里工作。
But they were faced with the problem how to support themselves.
但是就面临一个问题，怎么能够养活自己呢？
So it happened that while they were out doing Sankirtan, somehow one devotee started offering books and collecting donations.
最后呢，大家出去做三克探，有一个奉献者给别人派书，然后得到了一些捐款。
So Tamal Krishna Goswami picked up on that and he organized the devotees that they would do like that every day, that instead of working in jobs, they go out on Sankirtan and they would distribute books.
Tamal Krishna Goswami 他就捕捉到了这一点，于是他就有计划的安排大家出去派书，就不用去做一个工作了，大家可以去每一天派书。
And simply they would stand and chant, and one or two devotees would have books, some kind of course in those days we didn't have many books, there was practically nothing printed.
然后有一些奉献者在唱诵，另外一两个奉献者去派书。当然，在那个时代，我们没有很多的书，当时也就印了几本书而已。
Prabhupada had printed the first canto of Bhagavatam in India, but there were not many copies.
帕帕德在印度出版了施曼巴格他们的第一篇，但是呢，这个版本不是，就是说这个拷贝不是很多。
So the only book, whatever they had, they were printing a Back to Godhead magazine, which they printed themselves.
于是大家开始派发自己印刷的《回归守神》杂志。
So they would print and then collect the pages together and staple it.
大家把这个书页印出来，然后再用钉书机把它钉在一起。
And in this way, they put together their own magazine.
这样呢，大家就开始出版自己的杂志。
So they began very simple manner.
是一种非常简单的方式开始的。
And they were printing this usually in New York, and then they would also somehow get copies to San Francisco.
大家在纽约去印刷，然后呢，就把一些拷贝发到了旧金山。
And devotees would try to distribute this and raise some funds.
奉献者们于是开始派发这些杂志，并且收集捐款。
So Prabhupada thought this is very nice. He said this is a very pure activity to do Sankirtan every day and to chant the holy name, give people the holy name and offer them the books and give people a chance that they can also donate.
施罗帕帕觉得这是非常好的一个办法，因为所有的奉献者都可以出去做三克坦，可以唱诵圣名，而且还可以派发这个书籍、派发杂志，让其他的人也有这个机会。
And then it happened that devotees, they got George Harrison to donate money to print the Krishna book.
后来有奉献者联系到了乔治·哈里森，让他出资出版《Krishna 至尊人格守神》这本书。
So that was just the first volume.
这只不过是第一卷。
So they had one book, and then they managed to print Ishopanishad.
后来呢，又大家努力的印刷出版了《至尊奥义书》，是一首 Upanishad。
So they had a book also, Easy Journey to Other Planets.
还另外出了一本书，叫做《简易星际旅程》。
Just a small book.
这些都是小书。
So this way it began very simple manner, very few books.
这样是一种非常简单的方式开始的，只有少数的几本书。
But Tamal Krishna at that time, he was not yet Goswami. Tamal Krishna was, he took charge of organizing the devotees, and he made sure everybody dressed, he bought cloth, he bought cloth and gave all the ladies a piece of cloth to wear a sari.
当时呢，塔玛罗克什呢还不是塔玛罗克什 Goswami， 于是塔玛罗克什呢他就负责组织所有奉献者的事务。他买了一些布，然后给奉献者发布，比如说给 market 里面发一块布，这样大家都可以穿纱丽。
Right. All the ladies had the same color of sari.
当时所有的女士们穿的纱丽都是同样颜色的。
Because they buy the cloth there, you just buy a big roll of cloth and you cut it up and give them, okay, here's your sari.
因为大家买布的时候是买一整匹布，然后买完了之后把这个一分，哎，这个是你的纱丽，那是你的纱丽。
And they did the same for the man, and the man, here's your dhoti, and here's your dhoti.
然后对于男人，他们也是做同样的事情，这是你的兜体，那是你的兜体。
So he had everybody organized, everybody dressed nicely, they all looked alike. It was like a military force, like an army.
于是他把大家都组织起来，然后让大家打扮得非常的整洁，然后大家看起来就像是一支军队一样。
So Srila Prabhupada appreciated his ability to organize.
施乐帕帕非常欣赏他组织安排事务的能力。
So at one point, Srila Prabhupada, usually Prabhupada used to take his meals always on his own. And Prabhupada, they rented a small apartment where Prabhupada was living, and Prabhupada would take his lunch there on his own.
通常施乐帕帕都是自己荣耀菩萨的，然后呢，大家给施乐帕帕租了一个小的房间，施乐帕帕就自己荣耀他的食物。
But one day Prabhupada invited Tamal Krishna. He said, "You come. I want you to come and eat lunch with me."
但是有一天，施乐帕帕邀请了塔玛罗克什呢，说：“我想邀请你跟我一起吃午餐。”
Eat lunch.
吃午餐 ，yes.
Okay. So Tamal Krishna came there and took lunch with Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada told him, he said, I'm going to go to Japan, and I'm going to place an order for books, and I want you to distribute the books.
施乐帕帕在吃午餐的时候告诉塔玛罗克什呢说：“我想去日本，我想到那儿去印书，我想让你帮助我去派书。”
He said, I'm going to ask them to print quite a big quantity of books. And I want you to guarantee that you will distribute them, get them all distributed.
我想去那儿印刷很多量的这个书，然后我想让你保证把所有的书都派掉。
Recently, one lady was asking me why we're always selling books, why we always try to distribute books. So I explained to her that, we need the books ourselves to read, and we have to print them, and so then we have a lot of books. If you print a small number, it's very expensive. But if you print larger quantities, then it's cheaper. And so we print larger quantities, it makes the books cheaper. So we have to distribute the books to other people to get rid of them.
最近有一位女士，她问我为什么你们要印很多的书，就是派很多的书。我说，因为我们自己也需要书，我们需要自己印了书之后派书，自己也需要看书。是因为如果你要是印少量的书的话，这个成本就会很贵；如果要是印大量的书的话，这个成本就会很便宜。我们不仅自己看，还给别人看。
So Tamal Krishna he heard Prabhupada and said, "All right." He said, "Yes, we'll try." He said, "We'll try to organize it to distribute the books."
于是塔玛罗克什就告诉施乐帕帕说：“我们会努力的，我们努力的去派发这些书籍。”
And so Prabhupada went to Japan and he went to the printers there and he made a contract, and they printed books like Back to Godhead, and they printed also the Krishna book there, and the books were sent to America for distribution.
之后施乐帕帕德去了日本，他在那儿联系到了出版商，然后印刷了很多的回归守神的杂志，还有 Krishna 这本书。在日本印刷完了之后，这些书被发往美国，可以用来派发。
So Tamal Krishna was organizing the devotees there to get them all out on Sankirtan. Vishnu Jana was there leading the kirtan, chanting, and the devotees would go out and they would distribute books.
于是 Tamal Krishna 他就安排奉献者组织他们出去做Sankirtan派书，而 Vishnujana 他就是带领大家做Sankirtan去唱诵圣名。
And in this way they were able to recruit new people, meet new friends, and they were also able to get financial support for the center.
于是这样呢，他们就可以招收到新人，然后见很多的新的朋友，还可以为自己的中心筹集足够的资金。
So then Srila Prabhupada sent Tamal Krishna to Europe. He wanted him to go to Europe because some devotees had started opening centers in Europe.
后来施罗帕帕派 Tamal Krishna 去欧洲，是因为奉献者们开始在欧洲开设中心。
So he went to Germany and then to France and then to London.
于是他去了德国，后来去了法国，后来他又去了伦敦。
And while he was in London, then Prabhupada called the devotees. He wanted them to go to India.
当他们在英国的时候，施罗帕帕想叫这些奉献者去印度。
And Prabhupada took all the leading devotees, all the senior-most devotees, who were all like 3 or 4 year devotees, took them all away.
于是施罗帕帕就带着所有的这些最资深的奉献者，这些最老的奉献者，他们大概其实已经在科圣知觉之内有3-4年的时间，带着所有的人去了印度。3-4年。
Okay. So they all went to India with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada had them traveling around India.
他们跟着施罗帕帕德一起去了印度，施罗帕帕就跟他们一起在印度旅行。
There were no temples.
当时没有庙宇，
No place to stay.
没有住的地方。
Just they would, wherever people invited them, they would go there and do programs.
只要有人邀请大家，然后大家就去那个地方做节目。
And that was 1971.
这是1971年。
India was very simple, very basic.
印度还是非常的淳朴，非常就是比较基础的一个国家。
So it was quite austere for them.
对于他们来讲，相当的艰苦。
They were coming from America and then coming to India. The climate was very different, and the environment was very different.
他们从美国来到了印度，气候是非常的不一样的，而且环境也非常的不一样。
So Tamal Krishna served here with Srila Prabhupada in India, and it was here when they were in Calcutta, Prabhupada asked Tamal Krishna to come to Mayapur to buy land in Mayapur.
当时 Tamal Krishna 就跟施罗帕帕一起在印度，之后呢，施罗帕帕让他从加尔各答来到了玛雅普，要在玛雅普买一块土地。
And Prabhupada gave him the money in cash to buy the land.
Prabhupada 给他现金去买土地。
And he showed him how to carry the money so that it would be secret.
所以帕帕还教他怎么去带钱，然后呢，这样就可以保密。
Because it's quite dangerous in India to carry money.
因为在印度随身带钱是很危险的一件事情。
Especially at the time when there were some communists around here in this part of India.
而且尤其是当时在印度的这个地区有一些共产主义者。
There was a lot of murders.
然后当时这个地方还有很多的谋杀案。
So Prabhupada sent Tamal Krishna here with another devotee. They came up to Mayapur and they met the Muslim man who was having the land, and the man sold the land to them. They paid him the money and they got the land.
于是帕布帕派 Tamal Krishna 来到了玛雅普，然后他见了一个穆斯林，然后就从他手里买了土地。
So Prabhupada was very pleased that he could do that.
帕布帕非常高兴他能够做这件事情。
Prabhupada depended on Tamal Krishna Maharaj to do these different things, some difficult tasks. He would give them to Tamal Krishna to do.
帕布帕非常的欣赏 Tamal Krishna 可以做到一些比较艰巨的事情，有一些事情很难做，他就会交给 Tamal Krishna 去做。
Prabhupada at that time only had many young disciples. Everybody was quite young and not very mature, not very responsible.
当时施罗帕帕德的门徒大多都非常的年轻，因为他们很年轻，所以呢就不是特别的负责任。
But Tamal Krishna Goswami, although he was young, he was very mature and sober and responsible.
但是 Tamal Krishna Goswami 尽管他也很年轻，但是他非常的成熟，非常的负责任，而且非常的理智。
So Prabhupada gave him lots of responsibility.
于是 Prabhupada 给他很多的责任。
But Tamal Krishna wanted to go back to America. He was not happy here in India.
但是 Tamal Krishna 想回美国，他在印度这里并不高兴。
And he'd heard how in America his friend Vishnu Jana Swami was doing a lot of preaching.
而且他听说他的朋友 Vishnu Jana Swami 在美国做了很多的传播的活动。
He was going to colleges and preaching to students, and he said it's a very big field, a lot of preaching there.
他去大学，然后呢，去跟很多的学生们去传道，然后他说这个地方有很大的一个战场。
So Prabhupada wanted Tamal Krishna to stay in India, but he wanted to go to America.
Prabhupada 想让 Tamal Krishna 留在印度，但是 Tamal Krishna 想去美国。
So anyway, Tamal Krishna got the chance to go to America for a little while.
无论如何 Tamal Krishna 得到了一个机会，可以去美国待一阵子。
And then Prabhupada came to America, and he wanted to bring Tamal Krishna back to India.
后来 Prabhupada 去了美国，他想带 Tamal Krishna 回到印度。
But Tamal Krishna showed him, he said, you know, here I've made many devotees.
但 Tamal Krishna 向 Prabhupada 表明说，在这儿我已经造就了很多的奉献者。
So he brought all the new devotees he'd made, one after another. They all came to meet Prabhupada and offer Prabhupada a flower.
于是他带所有的这些奉献者们来见Srila Prabhupada，他们一个接一个的见了Srila Prabhupada，并且向Srila Prabhupada供奉了鲜花。
All young American-bodied men, and they were all shaved-headed and brahmacharis, and he brought them all in front of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada saw it and said, oh, yes, very good, you've done very nice.
所有的这些有美国躯体的年轻的男子们，他们都把头剃了，打扮得整整齐齐的来到Srila Prabhupada的面前，涂了提拉克，然后Srila Prabhupada说：“哦，你做得非常好。”
So Prabhupada always wanted to see results. He always wanted to know where are the results? What have you done?
Srila Prabhupada 总想看到结果，他想看看结果是什么，你到底做了些什么。
He wanted to know how many books have you distributed?
他想知道你到底派发了多少本书。
How many devotees have you made?
你到底造就了多少个奉献者？
How many properties have you acquired?
你到底取得了多少财产？
So Prabhupada wanted to see results. He wanted to develop Krishna consciousness.
Prabhupada 想看到这个结果，他想发展 Krishna 知觉。
So Tamal Krishna was here, he was in America, and he was working with the Radha Damodar party, and they organized many buses with young men, and they would travel around America and distribute books.
当时 Tamal Krishna 他在安排组织 Radha Damodar 的这个巴士的车队，有很多的年轻的美国人加入，他们在全美国旅行派书。
So it was really enlivening the whole of the American yatra. Everybody in the West was very much dedicated to book distribution in those days.
那么这是非常令人鼓舞的一件事情。当时整个的美国 yatra 的这个整个的这些奉献者们，他们都在努力的去派书。
And Tamal Krishna had a lot to do with that.
Tamal Krishna 为此做出了很多的贡献。
Actually, he was initiated as a sannyasi while he was here in India.
其实当他在印度的时候，他接受启迪，成为了一名萨尼亚西。
He was initiated in the temple of Radha Govinda in Jaipur.
他是在斋普的 Radha Govinda 的庙里接受的这个启迪。
And it was on the auspicious day of Vasant Panchami.
而且是在瓦桑潘恰米这个吉祥的日子里。
It was on a day when many great acharyas appeared.
那天也是很多 acharya 显现的日子。
So there was a big function in the Radha Govinda temple in Jaipur, and it was on that day Tamal Krishna was initiated as a sannyasi.
当时那天在斋普的瓦桑特潘恰米这一天，在这个斋普的庙里，大家举行了盛大的节日。就在这一天，Tamal Krishna 他得到了萨尼亚西的启迪。
And Srila Prabhupada gave him the title Goswami. He was the first person Prabhupada called a Goswami.
Srila Prabhupada 给了他 Goswami 的头衔，他是第一位被 Srila Prabhupada 称呼为 Goswami 的人。
He said he has given up everything for preaching Krishna consciousness.
他说，因为他为了传播 Krishna 知觉，放弃了所有的一切。
He was involved in management as a GBC, but when he became a sannyasi, it meant he would have to give up being in the GBC, because in those days there was no GBC who was a sannyasi. Sannyasis were only to preach.
当时呢，他为了做管理的工作，他成为了 GBC， 但是后来他要做很多的传播的这个工作，他就要放弃这个 GBC 的工作，因为当时所有的 GBC 都不是sannyasi。
Of course, later on they changed that so that the sannyasis could also be the GBC.
当然，后来大家对此做出了改变，所以sannyasi们也可以成为 GBC。
But initially, he gave up everything.
但在一开始的时候，他放弃了所有的一切。
So then he was preaching in America, and he was with many devotees, but then Prabhupada's health was not very good, and he decided he wanted to just go and be with Prabhupada.
所以当时在美国有很多的奉献者，但后来施罗帕布帕德的健康状况欠佳，他就决定要跟施罗帕布帕在一起。
And he became Prabhupada's secretary, and he was traveling with Prabhupada everywhere.
他成为了施罗帕布帕德的秘书，伴随着施罗帕布帕四处旅行。
This was 1977.
这是1977年。
Prabhupada disappeared in Vrindavan in 1977 in the month of November 14th.
施罗帕布帕他是在1977年11月14日的时候在文达文隐迹的。
So Tamal Krishna Goswami was with Srila Prabhupada so long as he was manifest in this world. He was there with him, side by side, serving him constantly.
当施罗帕布帕还在这个星球上显现的时候， Tamal Krishna Goswami 就一直在他的身边，伴随其左右，一直为他服务。
And Prabhupada would always take advice from Tamal Krishna Goswami. He would ask him, "What do you think? What should we do?"
Prabhupada 总是要采纳 Tamal Krishna Goswami 的建议，你觉得怎么样？我们应该怎么办？
But Prabhupada had a lot of trust in him, and he gave a lot of responsibility. He also asked him to go to China.
Prabhupada 非常的信任他，赋予了他很多的责任，而且 Prabhupada 还让他去中国。
There was some conflict between the devotees. There were some conflicts between the sannyasis and the grihastas.
当时在奉献者之中有一些冲突，这个冲突就在 sannyasi 和 grihasta 之间。
The grihastas felt that the Radha Damodar party were taking all the men, the single men, away from the temples.
grihasta 奉献者们认为 Radha Damodar 的这个旅行的巴士把所有庙里的单身的男子全都给抢走了。
So they came to Prabhupada and complained.
于是他们来到帕帕德的面前抱怨。
And they said, they're taking all our men away. He said, we made them devotees and we were training them, and then these Radha Damodar people come and they take them away for the Radha Damodar party.
他们说我们好不容易培养了这些新人，我们训练他们，结果呢 Radha Damodar 的人来了，就把他们从我们的庙里抢走了。
So there were some complaints, and it came to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada spoke to Tamal Krishna Goswami about this.
于是呢，就有一些抱怨就被提交到了帕帕那，然后帕帕就跟 Tamal Krishna Goswami 谈了这件事情。
And Prabhupada was making some restrictions on what he should do and what he shouldn't do.
帕布帕对他应该做什么、不应该做什么进行了限制。
And it came to the point, Tamal Krishna Goswami said to Prabhupada, he said, "Oh Prabhupada, if it's going to be like that, I might as well go to China."
结果就到了这一点，然后呢 Tamal Krishna Goswami 就说 Prabhupada 如果要这样的话，那我还不如去中国呢。
And at this time, China was totally closed.
在这个时候，中国是完全封闭的。
So, he was just saying, it's going to be useless.
其实他要说的意思就是说，这简直是没有用处的。
So Prabhupada said, yes, you go to China.
结果帕帕说，是的，你去中国。
And he said, no, Prabhupada, I was only saying that, I didn't mean it.
然后他说，帕帕，我只是说说而已，我不是这个意思。
He said, yeah, but Krishna made you say it, so now you should go.
然后帕帕说，是 Krishna 让你说出来的，所以现在你应该去。
So anyway, he became Prabhupada's secretary. He was serving Prabhupada.
无论如何 后他成为了帕帕德的秘书，一直在服务帕布帕，
And he served Prabhupada up until he left the body.
一直服务施了帕帕，直到他离开躯体为止。
Then later on, after Prabhupada left the world, then he thought more about what had happened, and he thought that Prabhupada wanted me to go to China, and that I should try to do something for China.
后来施了帕帕离开躯体之后，他就在想，施了帕帕曾经告诉过我应该去中国，所以我应该为中国做一些事情。
So he went to Hong Kong,
于是他去了香港，
and in Hong Kong he organized the China BVV.
在香港他组织了中国BBT，
They'd already began printing some books in Chinese.
他们开始出版一些中文的书籍。
So he came there and he brought some people, some of his disciples with him. He started initiating people. So he brought some of his own disciples and some trusted devotees. He brought them there to Hong Kong.
于是他带了一些他自己的奉献者们，然后有一些他非常信任的一些门徒，一起去香港。
And then initially we were renting a place in Hong Kong, but he arranged later on that we could also purchase a place in Hong Kong.
一开始我们在香港是租的一个地方，到后来他安排大家在香港买下了一个地方。
So property in Hong Kong very expensive,
在香港的地产是非常昂贵的，
but somehow or other we were able to purchase a nice property in a very prime location.
但后来无论如何，大家呢就买下了就是黄金地段的一处地产。
And because he had nice friendship with people like Surabi designed the whole temple for him, and it was very, very artistic, very colorful, very well done.
他的朋友是 Surabi， 所以 Surabi 就为他设计了整个的庙宇。这个庙宇的设计非常的有艺术性，而且五彩缤纷，做得非常好。
So actually the temple remained as it was last 30 years, I think, more.
这个庙宇其实在过去的30多年里都在保持原样。
It's very important to have a base for the China mission, so that is in Hong Kong.
对中国使命来讲，有一个基地是非常重要的，而这个基地就在香港。
At that time, Hong Kong was still under the British. It was a colony of British at that time.
当时香港仍然是英国的殖民地，
Now it's already back to China.
现在已经回到了中国。
But still, it's still pretty much as it was. The situation in Hong Kong hasn't really changed very much.
不过在香港，所有的事情都保持原样，没有多大的改观。
China allows Hong Kong to maintain its individuality.
中国允许香港保持其独立性，就是个体性。
So Tamal Krishna Goswami organized the China books, get the books printed, get the Prabhupada's books all translated, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Bhagavad Gita, of course. And Tamal Krishna also arranged for the Light of the Bhagavat book to be published.
Tamal Krishna Goswami 就安排这些书被翻译成中文，有Srimad Bhagavatam、Chaitanya Charitamrita，还有 Bhagavad Gita。他还出版了《薄伽梵之光》。
The Light of the Bhagavat, Srila Prabhupada had written purports to one chapter from the 10th canto called Description of Autumn. And Prabhupada was planning to go to Japan to attend an exhibition, and he wanted to have illustrations drawn for each of the purports.
当时施罗帕帕出版的这个《薄伽梵之光》是取自于施曼巴格坦第10篇，有一章对于秋天的描述，所以呢，他还想去日本把这个做很多的插图。
But Prabhupada was never able to go. The project fell through, although he had written all the purports.
但是施罗帕帕没有去成，所以呢，这个项目就被搁浅了下来。尽管他已经把所有的这些要旨都已经写下来了。
So Tamal Krishna Goswami arranged to get help from artists from the BBT in Los Angeles to work with a Chinese artist lady who lived in Hong Kong.
于是Tamal Krishna Goswami就安排洛杉矶的 BBT 的艺术家们跟中国香港的一位艺术家的女士联系，然后他们一起制作了这些插图。
And in this way they produced the book, which is called Light of the Bhagavat.
后来他们出版了这本书，这个书的名字就叫做《薄伽梵之光》。
that was Tamal Krishna Goswami's. By his influence, only these things could be done.
只有通过 Tamal Krishna Goswami 的影响，所有的这些事情才有可能。
He had wonderful effects on many devotees.
他对于很多的奉献者都施予了非常特殊的影响，奇妙的影响。
Maybe you know Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, who was the husband of Archamurti Mataji.
你们可能都认识 Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu， 他是 Archamurti Mataji 的丈夫。
Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu he left the body some years ago.
一些年之前 Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu 离开了躯体。
But Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu describes actually what happened to him after Prabhupada left. He didn't know what to do. He had no service. The BVV weren't giving him anything to do. He just had to get a job to maintain himself.
当时在舍帕帕德隐居之后 ，Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu 不知道自己该做什么了，因为 BVV 没有给他任何的工作，所以后来呢，他不得不自己要找工作来养活自己。
But he was a scholar in Sanskrit.
但其实他是一位梵文的学者。
He was very learned devotee.
他是一位知识渊博的奉献者。
And he was just working in a karmi job.
他就在做一份 karmi 的工作。
So it was Tamal Krishna Goswami who arranged to get him back into full-time service for the BVV.
而 Tamal Krishna Goswami 他安排了他能够回去全职做一个奉献者，为 BVV 工作。
And Gopi Paranadhana went on to edit the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, which was written by, with the help of Hridayananda Goswami. Gopi Paranadhana also edited it.
后来 Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu 他就编辑了 Srimad Bhagavatam 第10篇，那一部分是由Hridayananda Goswami 所撰写的。
And Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu also did the Brihad Bhagavatam Rita as well, Lagu Bhagavatam Rita, they were all done by Gopi Paranadhana.
Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu 他还翻译评论了 Brihad Bhagavatam Rita 还有 Lagu Bhagavatam Rita。
Krishna Lila Stava.
Krishna Lila Stava.
Gopi Paranadhana, a very valuable contribution. His service was going to be lost, but it was Tamal Krishna Goswami who saw that this man is very valuable. We have to keep him in Krishna consciousness.
所以 Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu 他本来可以做出非常大的贡献，本来这些贡献都要被失落了，是 Tamal Krishna Goswami 安排他能够重新回来做出这些贡献。
That he could see the potential of different devotees and he could see how to best utilize them in the service of Krishna.
他可以看到不同奉献者身上的不同的潜力，然后呢，如何的把这些潜力应用在对 Krishna 的服务上。
So Tamal Krishna Goswami, being a leader in the society, he was always under a lot of pressure from different people in different situations. There was always pressure on him.
Tamal Krishna Goswami 因为是我们的学会的领袖，所以就有各个阶层的人对他施予很大的压力。
And it affected his health.
这影响到了他的健康。
And he got cancer in the prostate glands.
他得了前列腺癌。
So he underwent surgery for that.
他为此去进行手术。
And somehow the surgery was not done properly.
但是后来这个手术并没有成功。
And he suffered terrible pain.
他遭受着极其可怕的痛苦。
No, surgery was not done properly.
这个手术没有做得特别恰当。
And there were things left in his stomach as well.
而且还有一些东西留在他的肚子里。
So he suffered a lot of pain.
他经历了很多痛苦。
And he had to undergo surgery again.
他不得不再次做手术。
And this was in the time when nowadays this surgery is not so big, but in those days, 20 years ago, it was a major surgery.
现在这个手术已经算不了什么了，但是在20年前，这还算是一个大手术。
So he suffered a lot. And at the same time, he was also trying to do some academic studies, and he went to university and got a degree.
然后，于是呢，他为此遭受了很多的痛苦。 同时他还在学术领域有所进展，他去大学里学习，他想得到一个博士学位。
And then he went to England to do a PhD.
于是他去了英国去做这个学士的博士学位的学
So
习。
in the course of, while he was still doing the PhD, he had come to Mayapur to attend the GBC meeting.
当时他还在这个博士的这个学习过程之中，他来到了玛雅普参加 GBC 的会议。
He'd stopped coming. He used to come every year to GBC meetings, but then he had health problems. He didn't come for several years. But then this one year, 2002, he came.
本来因为他的健康状况，他停止了来参加这个 GBC 的会议好几年。后来在2002年的时候，他来了。
So he came for the GBC meetings, and after the GBC meetings, he was going to Vrindavan.
他来参加 GBC 的会议，在 GBC 会议之后，他打算去文达本。
And so it was at that time that they had the fatal car crash.
就在那个时候发生了致命的车祸。
He had come here in Mayapur at 2002. At that time, devotees had come from Taiwan. A number of devotees had come from Taiwan, and several were initiated also at that time.
2002年的时候，有一小队奉献者来自于台湾，其中几个奉献者得到了启迪。
And some people, young men from Calcutta, they also got initiation from him.
而且当时还有来自于加尔各答的几个年轻人，也从他那儿得到了启迪。
They're very nice devotees now, you can see.
他们现在是非常好的奉献者。
So I remember also that same time one of the disciples of Tamal Krishna Maharaj had left the body, and I brought the ashes with me, and I requested Tamal Krishna Maharaj to put them in the Ganga, and we went to the Ganga and put them in the Ganga.
我还记得就在那一次的时候，我带了骨灰，然后呢，我请求Tamal Krishna Goswami跟我一起把这个奉献者的骨灰放到恒河里。
And then that was it. He took that car ride, and the driver was somehow sleepy or something, and he was driving down that road, the highway, and there's these big trees on the side of the road, and he drove the car, and some of the car went off and hit one of these big trees, and it turned over 3 times.
结果后来就发生了这场车祸，这个司机好像是比较困，睡着了，然后在高速路上行驶，路边有一棵大树，汽车撞到了那棵树，然后就连着翻了3圈。
So that was how Tamal Krishna Maharaj departed from the world.
这就是Tamal Krishna Maharaj如何离开世界的。
So it was a great loss for the society.
对于整个的协会来讲，这是一个巨大的损失。
Then his divine body was brought back here to Mayapur to be put in Samadhi.
他神圣的躯体被带回了玛雅普，被放在萨玛地之中。
Actually, there was a question, where should his body go? Where should his Samadhi be?
其实当时有一个问题，就是他的躯体应该去被放在哪里？他的萨玛地应该被放在什么地方？
So he had made a will before he departed. He'd written a will because he knew he was undergoing surgery, and he knew that the surgery may not be successful, maybe problems. So he'd written a will.
因为在他离开之前，他已经写下了一个遗嘱。他知道自己要去再次接受手术，这个手术可能不会成功，所以在这之前他就写了一个遗嘱。
And in the will, he said that he wanted his samadhi to be at Govardhan because they purchased a property there at the side of Govardhan Hill, which we have today is called Bhaktivedanta Ashram.
因为在他的遗嘱之中，他提到他希望他的躯体被埋在勾尔丹山下，因为当时大家刚刚在勾尔丹山的这个附近买了一处地产，大家管那个地方叫 Bhaktivedanta Ashram。
But then he said, in the will, he said, if I leave the body in Mayapur, my samadhi can be in mine.
但是在遗嘱之中，他还提到，如果我在玛雅普离开躯体的话，我的萨玛地可以在玛雅普。
So it was incredible that he had the foresight to think that he might leave the body in mine.
这是非常令人不可思议的一件事情，他已经预见到了，他有可能在玛雅普离开躯体。
And so he left the body. It's in a holy place near to Pulia, where Haridas Thakur would chant the holy name.
所以他是在一处圣地叫做普利亚这个地方离开的躯体，这是哈利达斯塔克念诵圣名的地方。
he left before Mongol Arti, and he departed from the world just at the time of Mongol Arti.
他是在蒙哥罗阿提之前出发的，所以他隐迹的时候就在蒙哥罗阿提的时刻。
So he departed at a very auspicious time in a very holy place.
他在非常吉祥的时间，在非常神圣的地方离开了躯体。
So it was very, very special arrangement.
所以这是非常非常特殊的一种安排。
It was a very holy day. This day yesterday was the day of the appearance day of Vakrishvara Pandit. That was his appearance. So this appearance was also the day of some other folk. I can't remember now. Okay.
所以他的隐迹的日子也是非常神圣的一个日子，是加格纳达斯巴巴吉的隐迹日。
So people say, "Oh, this is not good. He is a pure devotee. How could he depart in a car accident?"
人们说这不是一件好事儿，他是一位纯粹的奉献者，他怎么能够因为车祸而离开呢？
They do not understand the pastimes of the pure devotee.
他们并不能够理解纯粹奉献者的逍遥时光。
They come to help to spread Krishna consciousness movement, and they leave in the most unusual way.
他们来帮助传播 Krishna 知觉运动，然后他们以最不寻常的方式离开。
Some devotees enter into the deities.
有的奉献者会进入神像。
Some devotees' bodies become milk when they bathe in the Ganga.
有的奉献者他们在恒河里沐浴的时候，躯体会变成牛奶。
Some devotees they get sick and they just die on bed.
然后有的奉献者他们会生病，最后就死在床上。
But Tamal Krishna Goswami passed away in what looks like a car accident.
Tamal Krishna Goswami 他离开的方式看起来好像是一场车祸。
But the arrangement of Krishna to take him back to engage in some service with Srila Prabhupada.
但实际上这是 Krishna 的一个安排，是为了让他能够回去再继续为 Srila Prabhupada 做服务。
He was a very much loved devotee. Prabhupada used him very much to spread this Krishna consciousness movement.
他是 Srila Prabhupada 非常珍爱的一位奉献者， Srila Prabhupada 经常让他去作为工具去传播 Krishna 知觉。
So we were very fortunate to have his association.
我们非常的幸运能够得到他的联谊。
And we're very sorry that he departed so early in the Krishna consciousness movement.
我们非常难过，他在 Krishna 知觉运动的这个还很早的时候就离开了。
If he'd been longer with us, it certainly would have been very helpful to have his association.
如果要是他能够再多跟我们待一些日子的话，那就更好了，我们就可以非常幸运的再得到他更多的联谊。
But he gave us a lot of blessings, a lot of good fortune.
但他给了我们很多的祝福，很多的好运。
So we want to remember all of his instructions and his teachings.
我们想意念他的所有的教导和就是这个给我们的训示。
His base, Tamal Krishna Goswami, his base we said was in Hong Kong. That was in China, but for China. But in America, his base was more in Dallas, in Texas.
Tamal Krishna Goswami 他在中国的基地是在香港，但是在美国呢是在德克萨斯的达拉斯。
And he developed a very beautiful temple there. If you go to Dallas, I haven't been myself, but I've heard from other devotees. It's very, very beautiful. Everything is done very, very meticulous.
那么在美国的达拉斯的庙，我没有自己亲自去过，但是我听奉献者们描述说，这个达拉斯的庙非常非常的精致，非常的美丽。
The walls of the temple are covered with murals done by a very famous Indian artist.
然后这个庙宇的这个墙上，全都镶嵌的是非常著名的印度艺术家他绘制的一个玻璃。
There's an artist called B.G. Sharma.
有一个艺术家，他的名字叫 B.G. Sharma。
Yes, so he paints beautiful pictures of Krishna, Krishna Lila.
他会绘制非常美丽的 Krishna 还有 Krishna Lila 的图片。
So the walls of the Dallas temple are covered with these beautiful oil paintings.
所以达拉寺庙的这个墙上有很多这些美丽的油画。
The temple was originally, the building was originally a Christian church.
原本这栋建筑物是一座基督教的教堂，
But they transformed it into a beautiful temple, and they have also a Govinda's Kalachanji restaurant.
但是后来大家把这个地方变成了一座美丽的庙宇，还设立了一个 Kalachanji 的餐厅。
The deity in Dallas is Kalachanji.
在达拉斯的庙宇，这个神像的名字叫 Kalachanji，
It's a very ancient deity from India.
是来自于印度的非常古老的神像。
So Tamal Krishna Goswami ensured the deity was worshipped to the highest standard.
Tamal Krishna Goswami 确保神像崇拜达到最高的标准。
And so his disciples, many disciples are there.
他在那里有很多的门徒，
So we're remembering him at this time.
所以如今我们意念他。
Any questions?
请问大家有什么问题吗？
Yes, brother.
Is there any difference in worship or in understanding between Pushpa Samadhi and the physical body Samadhi?
Krishna Bingo Prabhu 的问题就是在 Pushpa Samadhi 和躯体的 Samadhi 的这个崇拜之间有什么区别？
No, I don't think there's any difference.
不，我不认为这个有什么区别。
For here in Mayapur, it's the actual samadhi, Tamal Krishna.
当然，在 Mayapur 这里，我们有 Tamal Krishna 的实际的 Samadhi，
But Prabhupada's samadhi is Pushpa samadhi.
但是 Prabhupada 的这个 Samadhi 是 Pushpa Samadhi。
So they take some flowers from the garlands which he wore at the time of leaving the body, and they take them, put them in the samadhi.
大家在说帕帕德要离开躯体的时候，他身上带的花环上取了一些花，然后把这个拿到了萨玛地里，就变成了鲜花种，不是萨玛地。
So they made the Pushpa Samadhi for Tamal Krishna Goswami in Govardhan.
大家为 Tamal Krishna Goswami 在 Govardhan 建了一个 Pushpa Samadhi。
In China, their tradition samadhis or use the cloth or the head is called Yihuan tree. Is that will be can be considered as authentic way to put a samadhi? Instead of flower garden, they use the cloth.
他的 Krishna Bingo 跑步问的下一个问题是说，在中国传统上呢有一个习俗，大家做衣冠冢，把衣服和帽子放在这个萨玛地里，也变成这个萨玛地，这个可不可以？
Well, that's not the Vedic way. Not Vedic, right?
这个并不是伟大。
Yeah, Smriti Samadhi. And they have some shirt or something worn by him there.
在加格纳特庙里有加南的塔库尔的他穿过的一件外套，他们管这个叫做意念萨玛迪 （Smriti Samadhi）。
我想问一下，当Tamal Krishna Goswami做那个拉达达姆达尔乐队的时候，虽然引起了一些庙长的投诉，但是他的这个乐队是取悦帕帕的，还是帕帕的这个态度是怎么样的？
Subhuti Rai Prabhu's question is that when Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj is organizing Radha Damodar team, and some temple president they complain to Srila Prabhupada, but his behavior organizing this Radha Damodar team is really pleasing Prabhupada or displeasing Prabhupada.
Well, Prabhupada was pleased in the sense that they were distributing the books.
帕帕是被取悦的，因为从这个角度上来讲，他们是在派发书籍。
But at the same time, he also wanted that there should be cooperation.
但同时呢，帕帕也希望大家能够合作。
He didn't like, if there's a lot of complaints, and Prabhupada has to listen to these complaints.
他不喜欢有很多的抱怨，因为帕帕就不得不去听这些抱怨。
So that was a problem.
这就是问题。
These people were running the temple.
因为这些人他们是在管理庙宇的，
So certainly Srila Prabhupada has to listen. He has to give them some respect. You know, these people are running the temples, they're maintaining the temples, the deity worship, and so Prabhupada has to be sympathetic to their opinion.
所以舍帕帕要尊重他们，要听他们的，因为他们是在管理庙宇、维系庙宇，然后保持这个神像崇拜的进行，所以舍帕帕就要去听他们，给他们一些关注和怜悯。
So there were some of the complaints were maybe not so just, but at the same time Prabhupada has to consider everything. He wants everything to go on without too much trouble.
可能有一些抱怨并不十分的公正，但是舍帕帕他要综合考虑，不会让单方的引起太多的麻烦。
So he considered maybe better for Tamal Krishna Maharaj not to be there.
所以他在考虑，可能 Tamal Krishna Goswami 不应该待在那儿。
Because he was so prominent and he was such a powerful leader and his presence was so powerful that it certainly had a lot of effect over people.
因为他太显著了，他是个很著名的领导，一位领袖，所以肯定的他对人们会有很多的影响。
Yeah, we have several of his disciples here today.
我们今天在这儿也有他的几位门徒在场。
Of course, you were new devotees mostly. Jai Radhika, Maraji, Krishna Brina, Bhagavati, of course, you know better. But he had a powerful presence. His sense of presence was very powerful. You know, people would, it would be quite, you could say almost we would feel intimidated somehow.
他有一种非常强有力的灵在，就是他是一个很有力量的人，有时候你甚至在他面前感觉受到威胁。
And somehow, although he wanted to be loved by everyone, but somehow, you know, people just feel threatened more.
尽管他希望得到每一个人的爱戴，但有的时候人们更多的感觉受到他的威胁。
Gunamala is also Tamal Krishna Goswami? No? No. Your husband, your first husband.
He's also Umapati Maharaj's disciple.
No, first.
Yes, Arjuna Prabhu.
Namacharya.
Maharaj's first husband, Namacharya Prabhu.
Rajendra Krishna. So, you know, as I said, you know, there was always some tension there, you know.
总是有一些紧张感存在。
I remember one of his disciples saying,
不说了，不忙了，There's an online question. Online question from Rajendra Prabhu. Thank you for Guru and the materialists. They take birth and they die according to his karma. I'm asking about the devotee's birth and disappearance. Is that Krishna's arrangement? Is he also subjected to karma?
devotee is not under the laws of karma.
奉献者并不受制于 karma 的律法。
So, it's Krishna's arrangement.
这是 Krishna 的安排。
Krishna brings him and Krishna takes him.
Krishna 带他来 ，Krishna 带他走。Next question, from 小白 Mataji. Why he's going to study PhD? Is that for better preaching?
Yes, he was encouraged to go into the academic preaching, to preach to the scholars.
是 的他被鼓励要进入到学术领域去传播，是为了给那些学者们去传播。
And he used to go to different seminars where all these scholars and professors of the different departments of religion and Asian studies would gather.
他以前常常去参加一些研讨会，去参加那些学者们、教授们聚集的这些会议，然后还有一些宗教系的这些人的聚会。
And he would go there, he'd write a paper and he'd present his paper.
他去那儿写一个论文，然后再去给大家讲这个他的论文。
And so they all got to know him, the different professors in the big universities there in America. You'd all say, oh yes, we know him, Tamal, Krishna, Goswami.
然后有很多不同的教授，他们都熟悉了他，都说哦，我们知道他 Tamal Krishna Goswami。
And he would bring prasadam and distribute prasadam to them.
他带 prasadam， 然后给大家派发 prasadam。
And when he was in England, he would invite people to come to his home and take lunch and take prasadam with him.
他在英国的时候会邀请不同的人到他的家里来，跟他一起去吃 prasadam。
He was trying to cultivate, and to develop, let people become more aware of the Krishna consciousness movement.
所以他在努力的传播，让大家更了解 Krishna 知觉运动。
Generally, they think he's a Hindu monk.
一般大家认为他是一个印度的和尚，印度教的和尚。
But Prabhupada said we have to preach everywhere.
但是 Prabhupada 说，我们应该在每一个地方传播。
And we have to give Krishna consciousness, let these people know what is our philosophy.
我们应该把 Krishna 知觉给别人，让他们了解到我们的哲学是什么。
And so he was working in this field, trying to meet these different scholars and cultivate relationships with them.
所以他致力于这个领域，他想跟那些教授们发展关系，然后呢，给他们。
And many of them wrote eulogies after he departed from the world. Many of these professors, they wrote very nice eulogies about him and their impressions of him.
在他隐迹之后，很多的这些著名的教授们，他们都为他写了悼词和挽联，而且他们都写得特别好，然后就是纪念他的这些文章。Another online question. Rajendra Prabhu is asking, now he's not physically present in this planet. So whatever we are doing, he would know or he doesn't know?
Well, Krishna knows.
Krishna 知道。这个 Rajendra Prabhu 问的下一个问题是说，现在他已经不是亲身临在这个星球上了，那么我们做什么，他知不知道？
Well, Krishna can tell him.
Krishna 可以告诉他。
If he needs to know, Krishna will tell him.
如果他需要知道的话 ，Krishna 就会帮助的。
We have to understand spiritual teacher is the representative of Krishna.
我们必须要明白到，灵性的老师是 Krishna 的代表。
And so you're serving the spiritual teacher, and the spiritual teacher is offering your service to Krishna.
你去服务灵性的老师，然后灵性的老师把你的服务供奉给 Krishna。
So if Krishna knows what you're doing, that's the main thing.
Krishna 知道你在做什么，这个是主要的。
Whether Tamal Krishna Goswami knows or not, we don't know where he is, what he's doing. We know he's very busy in Krishna's service, some other place.
至于 Tamal Krishna Goswami 他现在在什么地方做什么，我们不是确切的知道。我们知道肯定的是他一定非常的忙，然后呢，他在忙着去服务 Krishna。What he wants to ask is, when the spiritual master is not present, he doesn't know what we are doing, so we can do whatever nonsense we want. 我想您的问题是不是有这个含义，就是灵性导师不在的时候，我们就自由了，他不知道我们干什么，我就可以胡作非为了，为所欲为。Do whatever we like to do, whimsical.
No, of course you can't do that.
灵性导师不在了，我们是不是就可以为所欲为、肆意妄为？
The instructions of the spiritual master are eternal, right?
灵性导师的训示是永恒的，对吗？
They take the instruction, that instruction is with you for life.
因为你接受了这个训示，这个训示一辈子你都要遵守。
You cannot change.
你不能改变。
Yes.
Do you know what's the Buddha plan after study?
加拉蒂卡玛的只在问说，您是否知道在咕噜队学习之后他有什么计划 ？What is his plan after you study?
Well, if he got his PhD or something, then he would continue attending these different conferences and different seminars and presenting papers and writing scholars, just like Krishna Swami Maharaj does. Krishna Swami, he did also his PhD. He finished his PhD from Oxford, and he's writing papers and publishing books and different things. There's several devotees continuing the work in the same field.
如果他要是得到他的博士学位之后呢，他就会继续参加这些教授们的各种研讨会，会继续呈现他的论文，给他们介绍 Krishna 知觉，就像是现在如今的这个 Krishna Swami 所做的一样，就会继续的传播 Krishna 知觉。
Krishna Swami came to Hong Kong and he was teaching in Hong Kong University.
Krishna Swami 他来到了香港，在香港中文大学教书。
And then Amogalila also came. Amogalila also taught there for some time.
Amogalila 也来了 ，Amogalila 也在那儿教了一段时间。
And there was another devotee also. I can't remember his name now. He's from Israel. He
还有
has
另外的一
a
个奉献者
PhD.，
我不记得他的名字了。他来自于以色列，他也有博士学位。
So they came and taught in the university, but they didn't like it very much. They don't enjoy it there. It's Hridayananda Maharaj also taught in university. He didn't find the atmosphere very good. He doesn't like. It's not very suitable for devotees.
虽然他们在那里教书，但他们并不喜欢那个地方的氛围。也就像是回答安南的马哈吉，他也在大学里教书，但他不喜欢那儿的氛围，他觉得这个对奉献者不是非常的有利。
But Krishna Kshetra did recruit a devotee, nice devotee there in Hong Kong.
但是 Krishna Swami 他的确在香港发展了一些很好的奉献者。
And she's serving there in Hong Kong.
就是他在为奉献者在香港做服务。Another question, Guru Maharaj from Rajendra Prabhu. 在中国没有得到他亲身联谊的奉献者，他能否注视他们的灵性成长 ？In China, some devotees they never get his physical association. Can he care and pay attention to their spiritual growth?
Does he care? Does Tamal Krishna
Tamal
Goswami
Krishna
care?
Goswami, can he care these devotees who never get any personal physical association from him?
Not care，注视 ，not care，
Just to glance upon them, to concern for them.
因为在中国有的奉献者没见到他们。
Because in China, some devotees they never see Tamal Krishna Goswami, but they dreamed of him.
他的照片泪如雨下。
And then whenever they see his photo, they become tears coming like torrents of rains, and they're rolling on the floor back and forth.
因为他没见过古代，他这么一说，我说我见过了，我
And
从
then
来没
he never saw him physically. And then Rajendra Prabhu said, I saw him many times, but I never become like this. Torrents of rains coming from my eyes and then rolling on the ground back and forth.
They're good actors.
他们是好演员。
Yeah.
巴格瓦提玛达吉补充说，玛雅普学院的院长Pananayan Prabhu 他说是亲自告诉他的说，说不是对Tamal Krishna Goswami Guru Maharaj告诉他想在玛雅普开办一座灵性的大学。
Yes, that's it. In the future.
是的，将来。
That's the idea. There will be youth degrees.
那么 将来有这样的就是想法，还要有学位，颁发学位，
degree standard courses.
是有这个颁发学位的这种标准的课程。
So, the idea was, of course, after he gets his PhD, then he can also teach more.
而且呢，这个想法是当他得到他的博士学位之后，他可以更多的去教书。
We have to upgrade the standards.
我们要不断的提升标准。
Just now, Bhakti Shastri, we want to bring it up to degree standard.
现在就刚刚 Bhakti Shastri 开始起步，我们想把它达到一种就是能够颁发学位的这个程度。
But it's for different people, different, just like, they have the Eco Village thing over there at the Chowpatty people, they have the Eco Village, and they have an institute there, and they will study 8 hours a day.
这个也是因人而异的，是因为比如说在就是 Chowpatty 的那些奉献者们，他们办了一个生态村，在生态村里的学校，每一天你要学习8个小时。
Yeah, they have a lot of scholars.
他们在那儿有很多的学者。
So, our Bhakti Shastri is not so intense.
我们的 Bhakti Shastri 还不是特别的，就是这种紧张的安
We
排。
have one class a day, 2-3 hours.
一天上一堂课2-3个小时，
And then, devotees have time to take part in the temple program and do other things.
奉献者有时间去参与庙宇的节目，而且做其他的事情。
But if you make it too intense and, all study, then that's more very high, that's for very top brahmanas.
但如果弄得特别紧张的话，这个标准特别高，这是为了很高级的 Brahmana 准
Not
备的。
everybody is on that standard or wants to come up to that standard.
不是每一个人都想要达到那个标准的。
Now, the Bhakti Shastri course is more general, but every devotee, they can benefit.
Bhakti Shastri 这个课程是给每一个奉献者准备的，就是一般奉献者都应该参加。
Jayapataka Maharaj wants anybody second initiated, they should do Bhakti Shastri.
Jayapataka Maharaj 希望每一个接受二次启迪的人都应该学习 Bhakti Shastri。
But if everybody had to do that course, like what they do Echo Village, their standard, there wouldn't be many Brahmanas.
那如果要是每一个人都按照这个标准的话，就是在生态村儿，那他们的标准就不会有要按照生态村儿的那种标准，就不会有很多的 Brahmana 了。No questions online. Radha Priya Mataji, obeisances to the lotus feet of Guru. You just mentioned the devotees is not influenced by karma, it is Krishna's arrangement. This is referring to the advanced devotees or all initiated devotees. They can all get Krishna's mercy like this. 礼拜部的莲花图，您刚讲到奉献者不受业报的影响是 Krishna 的安排，这是高级奉献者还是所有的启迪奉献者都有 Krishna 这样的仁慈？
Well, Krishna said, as you surrender to me, I reward you accordingly.
Krishna 说，正如你们对我的这个臣服的程度，我视其情况沐予恩泽。
So it depends really on the devotee, how much they've taken shelter of Krishna.
所以这真的是取决于这个奉献者他在多大程度上想去托庇于 Krishna。
Just like when we take initiation, taking initiation means to take full shelter of Krishna, to give up all material desires and just simply surrender fully to Krishna.
就像我们要启迪，我们启迪的时候，我们知道自己应该放弃所有的物质愿望，应该臣服于 Krishna。
So not everybody is so dedicated,
不是每一个人都能够这样献身的，
but that's the principle.
但这个是原则，
So it's up to every devotee how much they want to take shelter of Krishna.
是取决于每一个奉献者他们在多大程度上想托庇于 Krishna。
As we surrender, Krishna reciprocates. The more we take shelter of Krishna, then the more Krishna will reciprocate.
看我们臣服的程度 ，Krishna 视其情况沐予恩泽。我们臣服的越多 ，Krishna 跟我们交流回应的也越多。
So it can be for every devotee. We don't know. how much everybody's taking shelter of Krishna.
这个可以是指每一个奉献者，因为我们也不知道每一个奉献者他们在多大程度上托庇于 Krishna。
So theoretically, yes, everyone has no karma.
从理论上来讲，每一个人都是这样的，每一个人其实他都可以免受 karma 的影响。
Everybody's under the control of Krishna.
每一个人都在 Krishna 的控制之下。Another question from Li Jingshun Prabhu. Obeisances to Guru's lotus feet. In our Bhakti Vriksha group, there is a question from one Mataji. When we are practicing our spiritual path, so our physical body also need practice. Without physical body, and where or how we put our souls. 李挺顺法部的问题，顶拜咕噜的莲花族，感恩咕噜和感恩奉献者。我们放在小组中有一位玛塔吉有一个问题，我们在进行灵性修行的时候，物质躯体还要修行吗？没有物质的躯体。